Hello there, everybody. If you remember, I read to you all Season 1 of what could have been the show that I created called My Little Pony Live from Equestria. Today I'll read the episode descriptions of Season 2. If you didn't watch the first one, I highly recommend that you do right at this instant. But if you did, let's get started, shall we? What better way to start the season than with a very special episode. This one is called Insulin Inconvenience and is about diabetes. This episode is particularly notable for me because I once had a diabetes scare back in high school. As it turns out, I didn't have diabetes, so I thank God for that. But anyway, we learn in this episode that Silver Spoon is often fussy because she's a diabetic and gets jealous whenever anybody eats sugary food in front of her. It's up to Foxtrot and Diamond Tiara to solve this problem. This episode also kind of conflicts with one of the episodes in the original show, because in the original show, one of the episodes shows Silver Spoon drinking a milkshake during a music number. Of course, I can always address that in the show with Silver Spoon saying something along the lines of, "You didn't see the whole thing," followed by the flashback of the music number with Silver Spoons pulling out one of those insulin injectors or whatever you call them. But other than that, I haven't really come up with much for this episode. This episode has a pretty clever title, Taco Sweetie Belle. In this episode, Baseline helps Sweetie Belle sell organic tacos. However, no one is buying any. Meanwhile, Foxtrot and Applejack try to cut down a dead tree, but it won't go down. They even ask Fluttershy to cut it down with her chainsaw, but even that doesn't work. I especially like the featured music in the episode. Smooth by Santana featuring Rob Thomas, Cups by Anna Kendrick, and The Lumberjack by Jackal. This is probably one of my least favorite episodes because of the featured music. It's either going to be called My Little Mambo or A Little Bit of Pony. I haven't really decided on the name yet. In the episode, Foxtrot's bandmates annoy him by constantly blasting the song Mambo Number 5 by Lou Bega in his face, a song that he really hates, and a song that I hate too. As a result, Foxtrot breaks the boombox. However, he and his bandmates realize that this is an enchanted boombox, which can not only repair itself, but it also belonged to Luna and Celestia. It also came with a mixtape filled with songs that the two recorded over 1,000 years ago. This episode is almost similar to that I Dream of Jesus episode of Family Guy, where Peter bugs everybody by playing Surfing Bird by the Trashmen. I don't know which is more annoying, Surfing Bird or Mambo Number 5. What if someone created a mashup of those two songs? Oh my god, that would be agonizing. What happens in Manhattan stays in Manhattan. This episode basically shows two characters violating one of my personal rules of a rock band. In the episode, Equestrian Roulette gets offered to play a well-paid gig in Manhattan, which includes a free trip, free food in the hotel, and the ability to bring some guests with them. This would be a dream come true if Foxtrot and Baseline hadn't had some history in the city. What happened was that before the band came to Ponyville, they did a show in Manhattan, and in the hotel, Foxtrot and Baseline would often sneak into one or the other hotel room, and the two would make out, violating one of my personal rules of a rock band. Well, the rule states that you cannot date your bandmates, but they didn't say anything about making out with them, so... Oh god, this is one of my favorite episodes. It's called A Date with Derpy, Part 1, Saving Cloudsdale. In the episode, Derpy is apparently a secret agent, and is not exactly the brain-dead Pegasus that everyone in Equestria knows. In the episode, Derpy recruits Foxtrot to do a mission that would potentially save the city of Cloudsdale. She also reveals the burning crush that she has on him. This is one of the few episodes where I actually wrote the entire episode. It's filled with twists and turns, and I'm not an arrogant person, but I'm pretty proud of it. Also, I suggested that Derpy's real voice could be played by Grammy-winning singer Adele. I didn't come up with much stuff for this episode. It's called Vinyl Scratch. In the episode, Vinyl Scratch decides to work for Broken Horseshoe after they promise to pay her more, enraging Equestrian Roulette. Meanwhile, Broken Horseshoe's drummer Drumroll tries her hardest to have Vinyl Scratch go back to managing Equestrian Roulette again. It's not much of an interesting episode, and I don't know why I came up with that idea, but it is what it is, so let's just leave it at that. Hemorrhage in My Hooves was obviously taken from the Fuel song Hemorrhage in My Hands. In the episode, Twilight suffers a cerebral hemorrhage, but survives. As a result, she decides to live life to the fullest, much to everybody else's chagrin. Meanwhile, Arpeggio starts dating Nurse Redheart, but cannot seem to get to her. Could it be because she's married or something? Who knows? I don't remember much from the original show. Here's yet another very special episode. It's called Rotten Apple Ruination. When Foxtrot brings Hi-Hat over to the Sweet Apple Acres, Hi-Hat finds that if he eats rotten apples off of the ground, which are fermented over time, he can get high. This eventually leads to an intervention. I'm not sure if it's a bit controversial since it deals with substance abuse, but hey, remember that show Ozzy and Drix? That show had cigarettes in one of the episodes, so I'm pretty sure that it won't be that controversial. Here's another seasonal episode. This one is called New Year's is Upon Us. It's late December, and everyone is ready for the new year. Foxtrot and Applejack have New Year's resolutions. Hi-Hat and Baseline try to create a mega firework, and Pinkie Pie and Arpeggio agree to become girlfriend and boyfriend once the clock strikes 0. However, the New Year's Eve festival is cancelled for some reason, so it's up to the main 6 in Equestria Roulette to find out why. As it turns out, the festival was cancelled by Mayor Mary because she thought that the town of Ponyville had a pretty bad year, and that the next year wouldn't be something to celebrate. This episode basically is about putting the bad stuff behind you and welcoming the good stuff ahead. I guess I need to do this. In a parody of Caddyshack, Dashy Shack is about Rainbow Dash finding her hidden talent in golf. However, she has some competition when one of the other competitors is Drumroll from Broken Horseshoe. I don't know why I came up with this episode. I guess that I was just running out of ideas at the time, so I just had to come up with something. In yet another movie reference, 2016 Candles is about Princess Luna's 2016th birthday. However, everybody's more interested with Celeste's new museum in Canterlot. Meanwhile, Sweetie Belle is highly critical of modern art, so she decides to create some masterpieces of her own, which somehow get critical acclaim. The end of the movie is going to be a reference to 16 Candles. Basically, Princess Luna and King Tesla sit by the window with a cake between them and share a passionate kiss. Right when they're doing this, the lights turn on and Luna's friends and family surprise her. Original? No, but what is nowadays? Rarity and Arpeggio is about two ponies whom no one would expect to be friends. Hi-Hat and Baseline, however, are critical of their relationship as they both dislike Rarity. Even Pinkie Pie is skeptical of this as she thinks Rarity might steal Arpeggio away from her. Just goes to show that sometimes some of the most unlikely people, or ponies in this case, can end up being friends. This is a pretty common theme in television shows. It's called the Royal Jelly. In the episode, Big Macintosh starts dating Princess Celestia. Hi-Hat, who is Celestia's son, is angered by this until he and Big Macintosh start hanging out more. And there's an unrelated Beast story where Foxtrot and Applejack try to create Equestria's largest Play-Doh sculpture. Not really interesting, but hey, maybe for some people. An officer and a violinist is centered around Octavia. In the episode, Roulette and Vinyl Scratch jokingly sign up Tavi for the Canterlot army to get her out of the house. But when Tavi comes back all buff, she seeks revenge. In the episode, I wanted either Arlie and Ermy or Mike Judge to play the sergeant, whose name is Sergeant Wishbone. I don't know how I came up with that name. This is not the only Octavia-centered episode. You'll see later on in the video. In a music video-based episode, Love Story Story is about the former members of Stallion Cannon clashing to see who has the best love story. I said that it was a music video-based episode, and the songs used in the episode are Collide by Howie Day, Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls, In Your Eyes by Peter Gabriel, Don't Stop Believing by Journey, and an original song by Stallion Cannon. The episode's moral is that it doesn't matter whose love story is better, as long as you two still love each other today. Oh, and I apologize for the eyesore that I provided for you. Couldn't find anything else though, I just found this. Well, just be glad that this is old Taylor Swift and not the new atrocity that we have now. I don't know what happened to the character Trixie, but let's just involve her in this episode. In the episode Trixie Isn't for Kids, Trixie falls for Foxtrot and wants her to herself. Because of her intricate magic skills, Foxtrot cannot get away from her. How will this be resolved? I especially like one of the featured songs in this episode, which is Do You Believe in Magic by The Lovin' Spoonful. I haven't come up with this a lot for this episode, but I don't care. Here's yet another one of my favorite episodes. I don't want to take all the credit though. Justin helped me come up with the concept too. It's called Call Me Tavi. In the episode, Octavia goes to Zikora's place to retrieve some medication, but while coming back she gets lost. However, she then meets a pony by the name of Coda, who, like Octavia, is also a violin player, or bowed string player for that matter. She brings Coda back to the studio, where Vinyl Scratch and Equestrian Roulette welcome him warmly. The next day, Octavia decides to hook up with Coda, but Hi-Hat warns her about rushing into a relationship too quickly. Regardless, Octavia hooks up with Coda anyway. As the episode progresses, however, Coda starts to get more and more antsy for some reason. Everything all falls apart when Octavia tells Coda that she loves him, to which Coda breaks up with Octavia and runs off crying. Octavia also runs back to the studio crying. After some talking with her friend, she decides to go back into the Everfree Forest to look for Coda. They finally find his house, to which he reveals his backstory on how his parents were killed, how his brothers abused him, and how he went to live with his sister in the Everfree Forest. He then gets back together with Octavia, and he and his sister play with roulette at one of their shows. Coda was Justin's first ever OC, and I'm proud of him for coming up with Coda. The Cost of Life basically takes where Call Me Tavi left off. In the episode Equestrian Roulette, Vinyl Scratch, Octavia, and Coda's sister Topaz help Coda face his abusive brothers again. As it turns out, the two are royal guards for Princess Celestia. Also, the brothers reveal that they didn't really abuse Coda, rather, Coda had many outbursts while the brothers try to stop him from hurting himself or anybody else. His brothers apologize for possibly hurting Coda in the process, to which Coda forgives them. After which, the brothers ask Coda and the gang if they want to visit the old house in Canterlot, to which Coda reluctantly agrees. While trying out his old car, Coda finds a mortician's report in the ashtray, which was for Coda's father. The gang then went into the house to research how Coda's father possibly died. They then find that there was a magic spell called the Death Spell, which could be used by only 3 ponies. As it turns out, only one of the ponies was in Equestria when Coda's father was killed. They go to Princess Celestia to report what they researched, and in a surprising twist, Princess Celestia reveals that she killed Coda's father. Not just that, but she also killed Coda's mother too. This was because of a council vote to have the two executed. The next day, Princess Celestia holds an emergency announcement to the rest of Equestria, where she reveals what happened to Coda's parents. Obviously, everyone is shocked, but all in all, it takes true guts to show humility and take responsibility for her actions. Also, the topic of the Guitar Center in Canterlot is brought up quite a few times in the episode. For the most part, Call Me Tavi and The Cost of Life are me and Justin's favorite episodes. 2 for the Show is an hour-long episode. In the episode, Foxtrot and Applejack break up after a fight. To make matters worse for Applejack, Foxtrot is getting back together with Spitfire, who, if you remember from the old story of Foxtrot, dated Foxtrot before he and his band came to Ponyville. With his new girlfriend, Foxtrot finds out that Spitfire is in an underground rock band. Also, I wanted Spitfire's singing voice to be played by Lizzie Hale of the band Hailstorm. Anyway, Applejack is depressed and tries to find someone to date to make Foxtrot jealous. She eventually settles on Broken Horseshoe's leader, Chad. At the end of the episode, Spitfire and Chad tell their partners that if they still loved each other, they would be together again. Foxtrot and Applejack then run back into each other's arms and share a passionate kiss while the song Lips of an Angel by Hinder is playing. I have no idea how I'll stretch all of that into an hour, but hey, anything is possible. So, that's going to be it for today, everyone. I'll see you until next time to read you all Season 3, but until then, see ya.